Board meeting, February 23rd, 2021, 4 o'clock p.m. in the City Hall Council Chambers. Kim, will you please lead us in roll call?
Tim Boder.
Aye.
Dale Parks.
Yes.
Troy Rushmeyer.
Aye.
Kara Schaefer. Kevin Yeager.
Yes. Reminder to everybody to make sure their microphones are on. Will everyone join me in a Pledge of Allegiance, please? I pledge allegiance
to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
All right, do we have any revisions or additions to the agenda?
You had one?
I do have one. I'd like to move, if it's all right with everyone, item E, which is our request to approve the 2021 Loons lease agreement, to just after item B, the approval of disbursements. This will put it just before unfinished business. We have the Hardings in-house here, so if there's no objections to that.
Get them out of here as quick as possible, is that what you're saying?
Well, all right, I'm looking for a motion on that.
So moved.
All right, we have a motion and a second. All those in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Those opposed, same sign. And that carries. All right, notice to the public, all matters listed on the consent calendar are considered routine by the board and will be enacted in one motion. There will be no separate discussion on these items unless good cause is shown prior to the time the board votes on the motion. So at this time, I'd like to ask if there's any discussion. Hearing none, I'm looking for an approval of the minutes and the approval of disbursements.
So moved.
I have a motion and a second. All those, any discussion? All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Say, all those opposed, same sign, and the motion carries. So at this time, we will take over, or we will move to our replaced item. This is now currently item E. This is the request to approve the 2021 Loons lease agreement. This looks, is this Paul? Mr. Sandy, please.
Yes, thank you, Mr. Chair. So attached and in front of you is the updated lease agreement with the Loons. The agreement contains terms for leasing the boathouse, the dock, and other items. It also contains language about the dock installation and the public use of the dock when not in use by the Loons. The agreement covers Lum Park, use restrictions, jurisdictional boundaries of public waters, and basically what the Loons can use within the park. It's the exact same lease as what you guys have reviewed last year, basically with some changed dates per the lease that was executed last year. This needs to be reviewed before March 1st of every year. And so that's why this is in front of you tonight. Also attached, it's kind of a history of why this agreement came into being that was provided to me by Kim. So I guess if there's any questions about the lease language or how this came to be, we can answer those now.
Thank you, Mr. Sandy. Anybody have any questions for Paul? No questions? All right. Just to make sure I understand this, there's really no revisions from last year other than just a re-signing of the original agreement, correct?
Yep, only dates, Mr. Chair.
All right, thank you.
I guess I do have a question, and it's good these guys are here. So I was just gonna, just curious if we heard any feedback from 2019. I guess I didn't remember, because I know the 4 times a week thing was something that was, I just wanted to know if we should maybe revisit that part of it, and if we even had the ability to change that to 3 times a week, or if you guys maybe want to speak to that, or I'm not sure why you guys are here.
Yeah, I think once they moved and they went the other direction.
I'm gonna have you, I gotta have you come up and state your name and address. Sorry, Wayne, thank you. Thank you, sir.
It's really going to be official. I think the 4 days a week we were fine with in 2019 once they switched the direction of the boat and they weren't coming by the house as often. The only thing that's probably changed is the red house directly next to the park now has a family with kids, with teenagers and a young kids that'll be out in the water more. than what it was in the past, so they're gonna have to be careful about that dock. So whether that comes into play this summer or not, I guess we'll see. But I do know, you know, the gentleman before complained but was never outside. These people are out a lot, so they're using it. So I guess we'll see how it plays out. They just moved in last summer, so they didn't get anything. And I think if it goes like 2019, there won't be any issues.
All right, thank you, Mr. Harding.
Thank you.
Yeah, that's good to hear.
I think you were asking, Ms. Schaefer, if there was any complaints received, right, or anything? Can city staff give any feedback, any complaints received? All right, with that, I'll be looking for a motion.
Also with the practicing 4 days a week, is that including the shows? Is that one day, or is that 4 days plus the show?
Yeah.
Yep.
And that's okay?
Yeah, I think they just have the shows listed here. Where
Yep,
did
they
I
have
see
4
that?
of them listed in the packet.
Yeah, one of
looks-
them's on a weeknight, I think. Otherwise, they're just on weekends, if you can hear me. Yeah.
Please.
Stacy Harding, Wonderland Park Road. If it does become an issue this summer, because I know the neighbors, Tad and Stephanie Shepner, I spoke to her on Sunday, and she's like, my only concern is this is my forever home, and I did not buy it to have people out in front of my dock every night, 4 nights a week. If it becomes an issue this summer, do we have the right to readdress and just say, hey, this is not working? Is this like in stone? We can never discuss it again until next year.
I can answer. I think at any time you can bring concerns before city
Okay.
staff with something, with anything that comes up. This is probably a great time to remind that everyone in this room that what the park board really controls is just the access to the
Right,
beach,
right.
not really the use on the water. But I think absolutely an open dialogue is encouraged at all times.
Okay, I just want to make sure, because she was kind of concerned, because they did spend a lot of money on this house, so to have that. Okay, that's all, thanks.
Thank you, Stacy.
It does say, Mr. President.
Yeah.
It does say in the terms that we can review it annually, but no later than March 1st of each year.
Right.
So it would be good to hear the concerns, but we probably couldn't change it unless it was like a liability or something.
I think, this just has to do with lease terms. Anything that comes up in regards to how many times they practice a week, that's all negotiable with the ski loons. There's nothing in the contract that prevents us with changing anything upon agreeance of both parties. So I don't foresee an issue. Anything can be changed contractually as long as we go through the right process.
Thank you, Mr. Sandy. All right.
I'll make a motion then to approve the contract for this year for the ski loons.
All right, thank you, Mr. Parks. We have a motion to approve. Do we have a second? We have a second by Mr. Rushmeyer. Any discussion? All right, hearing none, we'll vote by roll call.
Tim Boder? Dale Parks?
Yes.
Troy Rushmeyer? Kara Schaefer?
Yes.
Kevin Yeager?
Yes, and the motion carries. Thanks, guys.
Thank you.
All right, and with that, we will cycle. With that, we will cycle back to our original agenda here. Number 6, unfinished business. 6A is a request by the YMCA regarding programs. This is Ms. Kaufman.
hear me?
Thank you.
All right. Hello. Thank you, Mr. Chair and members of the board. This request came from Ms. Erickson of the YMCA. She's asking to remove kickball as a program offering and add it to the activities for Parks on the Go. The reason it's coming in front of you today is because it states clearly in the YMCA contract that they can add programs, but not necessarily remove. We talked about that if a program wasn't offered, that Brainerd Parks and Rec would offer it. And so it is staff's recommendation that we actually move forward with the YMCA offering kickball within their Parks on the Go program. And also note they are planning on adding lacrosse and flag football to their repertoire of programs.
Awesome.
Are there any questions?
Is this gonna be an
As far as
Them not having-
removing,
Them not having the ability to remove a program?
would you like to figure out a way that it won't be an ongoing program and we
Other
just?
than I think we just bring it to this forum, this format, and address it. But I'm guessing, my hope is this won't be like a continual issue, you know, as we move through the summer. And I would think it won't, you know, and this is an annual contract, so if there's issues, I'm sure we can address it for the next year. But I'm just wondering what you're thinking. Do you think this is gonna be a issue that we need to change the contract with them, or we can just move forward and let it roll? I'm hoping.
Oh, no, I don't think we'll need to redo the contract per se. Maybe we could edit the contract for next year. And if there's any programs that they would be wishing to remove based off of their reports that they'll be giving us.
Sounds good, thank you.
Thanks.
The removal is based on low enrollment. So,
Over the years, it's actually gone down in
Yep.
enrollment for kickball, correct? So, yep, the recommendation is that we're allowing staff recommends to allow the YMCA to move youth kickball to the Parks and the Go activity.
You need a motion on this, Katie?
I would like one.
Perfect. We have a motion,
I'll second.
and we have a second. Do we have any discussion? Hearing none, we'll vote by roll call.
Tim Boder,
Yes.
Dale Parks.
Yes.
Troy Rushmeyer. Kara Schaefer,
Yes.
Kevin Yeager.
Yes, motion carries. Thank you, Katie. All right, our next item here is item 6B. This is a request to review the Widseth proposal for park design standard creation. This is Mr. Sandy, please.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. So this request came forward at the last park board meeting that we approach someone that would be able to do something like this for us, in that getting some sort of standard for building exteriors, branding, that kind of thing. Staff approached Widseth with this idea. They have done this as a company, which is really what we're looking for. Is we're looking at that kind of brand that Widseth just recently went through with changing from WSN to Widseth. Mike is not here, but basically the proposal is that they would provide basically a kickoff meeting with the park board to garner ideas of what the park board would like to see from a brand perspective. Staff's first thought about this is that we would look at some of our newer buildings and structures, anything that's been built in the last 5-6 years, that we can start building this design standard off of. From there, they would kind of take the information they get from that first meeting. They would put together something like you see in the packet tonight, which is, it goes over a lot of detail, interiors, exteriors. I think we're more focused on the exteriors, but we can certainly get into interior things too, if that's what the park board would like to do. It's pretty simple from their perspective. They would have their landscape architect work to put something together. They're working on standardizing all their offices across their business, which is kind of what we're doing at a park level. And so really what we're seeing here with their standards is what we would be getting. And we could guide that process through that first meeting. They would go and do their work, provide us with a draft where we would have another meeting to review the information that they give us. And then from there, we would adopt these standards if everyone is in agreement with where we're going with it. You know, all of that for a really nominal fee, in my opinion, of $4,500. You know, I think a couple meetings with them and letting Lindsay, who is one of their landscape architects, take off with it and give us something like you see in the packet here. I think it goes a long way to helping staff out with formulating the capital plan. Really need this information and what the park board wants to see before we can start really imagining what our parks are in the future. So the $4,500 cost, not a real good spot for it to come from, besides, you know, the capital improvement fund that the city has. I think, you know, I don't know, Jennifer, if that's something that we would want to just move forward to the city council with an ask that just says, hey, this wasn't budgeted for, but it's something that the park board would really like to pursue before we really take a close look at the 30-year capital plan. So pretty nominal cost, you know, $4,500 out of a $1.5 million capital plan is really, I think it's something that the city council could support, you know, but. So yeah, that's our recommendation at this time, is that we move forward, and it would be an ask of the council basically to allow the park board to move forward with this and approve kind of a budget amendment to get this done this year as part of our creative trying to get our 30-year capital plan off and running the right way. So any questions, just we're available to answer those now.
Thank you, Mr. Sandy. Anybody have any questions, any discussion?
I just think it's a good step forward, step one.
I do too, Dale. What do you think, Kara? I saw your hand up.
Yep, do you think, that's okay. If there's an issue with cost from city council, could we say it was like, maybe we pay half out of like our park beautification fund, or I would, you know, as an option, as a backup?
Yeah, I mean, we could just reduce our ask next year. You know, I think we put 75,000 in each year for park beautification, and this would just go towards that. And so that could be an amenable solution, and just say, hey, we're just asking for an advance on our funds, 1 year, $5,000, just so we can get this done to really have a plan moving forward to implement that $75,000. So
I think that makes great sense, especially with Memorial coming, you know, with Memorial potentially coming, we're going to be needing to make decisions on paint colors and shingle colors and those types of things, and this plays exactly into that, so.
$4,500 is pretty inexpensive, actually.
Yeah, I'm excited about it. Jennifer, please.
I was just pointing out mics, if you could remember to turn your mics on. You are on WebEx. I'm not sure if anybody has joined or not.
Mayor Bedeau.
Yeah, that seems like a safe bet by adding it to the beautification. That's the first question that they're going to ask is, since it's not in your budget, why isn't it in your budget? But that's a good route. So I think you should be able to see some movement on that.
Thank you. Troy, please.
I just agree, great place to start. I mean, I think it aligns with everything we've been talking about, so I think it's a very good plan.
All right.
Sorry, I have one more thing. So is Mike, did we work with Mike before? Sorry, Mike, if you're listening, but is that who we worked with when we did the plans for Memorial? When we all met in the office, or is that a different company?
Same company, different
Okay,
personnel.
okay. Either one, I'm sure will be great.
Yeah.
But, yeah. Okay.
All right. I'll, at this time, entertain a motion, unless anybody has anything else. All right, we have a motion by Mr. Rushmeyer,
Second.
a second by Mr. Parks. Do we have any discussion? Hearing none, we'll vote by roll call.
Tim Boder,
Aye.
Dale Parks.
Yes.
Troy Rushmeyer. Kara Schaefer.
Yes.
Kevin Yeager.
Yes. And motion carries. Thank you, guys. Update on Buster Dog Park Gazebo replacement. This is Katie. This is Paul. Sorry.
Yeah, thank you, Mr. Chair. So at our last meeting, we had some discussion about this. We kind of wanted to move a different direction from what was proposed with our $7,000. I attached what was originally proposed, kind of that bus stop type of structure. In the meantime, I talked to our city maintenance staff, and they feel like it's something that they could take on in-house. We attached a couple of ideas. One is something that was just taken offline, and one is something that Katie kind of drew up. We're really just looking for some different ideas about what the park board would like to see. At the last meeting, kind of the doghouse theme was brought up. Kind of the world is kind of our oyster at this point. We have $7,000 to work with in our budget. We're going to have some staff time involved, but I think it's a great way to go. We can get the most bang for our buck by doing it in-house and building something nice. At a meeting we had with Mr. Yeager, he volunteered to actually do a quick SketchUp of what we're talking about here tonight. And so I think we could move forward with any type of idea you guys have. Something like a pavilion type that has a dog house type of theme or something, so that we can stay consistent with the dog park theme. So I guess just open it up for discussion. You know, now that we know that our city staff feels like they can do it, we just want to keep it maintenance friendly, you know, kind of from the waist down kind of thing. No wood, no things that can soak up any type of moisture or feces or whatever it is. So that's really the only parameters we're working with. We talked a little bit about open air compared to closed. We felt like having it open would keep the airflow through there and things, even though a lot of it is for windbreak purposes. But yeah, just open it up for discussion and kind of see what everyone's thoughts are. And, you know, I think our design standard discussion will come into play here too. But, you know, a lot of our buildings have the green roofs and the wood tones and things like that. So it's something that we could change as we go through the design standard process, but if we have a drawing, we could start ordering materials and things to get it going. So I guess I'll open it up for any discussion by the board.
All right, thank you, Mr. Sandy. Anybody? Yeah, Mr. Rushmeyer.
So I'm glad to hear that, I like the fact that you're talking about doing something kind of shaped like a doghouse, and to me, it's more fitting for than a bus stop. And to have a final drawing to look at would be nice, and it seems like the better option to me, especially even without the plexiglass, just something else to break and have to repair, but or to get painted on or who knows what. But I also like the fact that we're talking about a metal roof. The last time we talked, I was instructed that our city ordinance did not allow metal roofs for certain buildings, and I drove around the parks and noticed that our brand new buildings and our newest concession stand and other bathroom over in the Memorial Park are metal roofs. All of our new
Dugouts.
dugouts are metal roofs, and to me, it just seems fitting, especially if we're talking about looking into the future for maintenance-free materials, that we would go that way now as well. But so yeah, I think it's the right direction, and the staff's building it. I think that's great. And if Kevin was going to lose a few $1,000s drawing this up, I think that's
Thanks, Troy. Not losing, I'm investing in our city.
I'm kidding. I think it's a good idea. I'm excited to see the final drawing of it. Katie, no offense, this is fantastic.
Yeah, great
No
start.
offense.
Absolutely.
Thanks.
Don't take offense to that.
None taken.
But like, kind of like Troy was saying, not to interrupt, whatever, but it's so cool doing in-house workers doing the work. I mean, it just seems like it's more of a city of Brainerd thing, and rather than having a whatever construction company truck sitting outside, it seems more, it's what our staff does. So I think it's perfect to be able to use it in-house. Perfect.
Yeah, Kara, please.
I'm gonna play devil's advocate, but what is the purpose of the gazebo if it's not for wind block? I mean, are people having picnics at the dog park? I'm just curious, because I know we paid a bunch of money like last year or something. Tony had to like put up a wall because people were complaining about you guys remember that? It was like we had to like put up a shield because people were mad because it was cold.
Katie. Oh, sorry, Paul.
I could talk a little bit to that. You know, we did talk, that was something Katie brought up, is that the windbreak is really important to the users of the dog park. I think we can do it with some natural ways instead of a hard surface, you know, trees or bushes or something that can block the wind as well as a hard plexiglass surface and keep the airflow while still trying to block. It's mostly coming from the northwest. You're going to have it blowing down the river right into the gazebo. So some just thoughtful planting of either trees or, you know, a pine type tree that isn't able to block the wind. You know, it's something that I think we should move forward with the open air concept. I think it's going to get pretty stuffy in there if we don't. But also recognizing that windbreak is important. So.
Am I good? Yeah, if everyone's open to it, I'll have drawings for the next meeting. And then in preliminary form, and if those look good, we'll draft it up and turn it over to the city. Good with that?
That's good.
Awesome. We don't need a motion on this, I don't believe, right?
I don't think
All
so.
right, very good.
Send the bill to the president, by the way.
Exactly. All right, update on Gregory Park kiosk installation. This is
Okay.
Paul, I believe.
Yep.
Thank you.
Yep, so thank you, Mr. Chair. At the last meeting, it was noted that we installed a kiosk at Gregory Park, and I didn't realize I even put that in there, and it opened up a whole discussion with the city attorney. So through that discussion, so basically, if the kiosk was installed with the hope that the Northside Association can use it. By doing that, we open it up to any type of public forum or anyone who wants to post in there. So, and if the city starts regulating content, we could come into First Amendment type of issues. And so we even asked the city attorney about can we have them submit the content to city staff before it goes in there. He said, well, then it gives you the opportunity to regulate content. So that goes to the same subject that if someone from the public is posting in there, it's a public forum and you cannot regulate what goes in that kiosk. And so we basically, as an informational item, we came to the conclusion, and the attorney concurred with this, that we'll leave it up there as something the Northside residents can use. They have a key to it, we have a key to it. But it doesn't stop us from, if someone requests to post something in there, we have to allow it. But we can take it down immediately if it becomes an issue. So that's kind of the direction we went. We did contact, I don't remember her name from the Northside Association, but we did contact her and let her know of that and just said, it is an open public forum. If there's some derogatory material in there, we need to take it down immediately, and that's going to be the final word. So that's where that left off, and so I just wanted to give you guys a quick update on that.
Krista Sukup, I think.
Yep, exactly. Yep.
Okay. All right, seems really simple, and it always turns into something. But I guess that's
you always learn a lot when the city attorney gets involved.
That's right.
Of how much trouble you could get into.
I don't think you're looking for a motion here.
No.
Is there any discussion from anyone? All right, hearing none, we'll continue on. Item E, update on the Gregory Park Rink Lights. Katie, please.
It's
Oh,
actually
this was
Paul.
mine too.
Oh, sorry. It doesn't come up fast. Oh, there it is. Sorry, I got it.
There are mics? Oh, okay, we're still good. Okay, so this came from a complaint from one of our council members, from a former city staff member. It was that the Gregory Park Rink Lights were staying on all night. And so at the last meeting, the park board directed staff to kind of look into if the lighting meets our current ordinances. I talked with Community Development Director Chansky on this, and so in a residential district, the lighting is the lighting standard is that the poles can't be 13 feet. These are higher than that. However, we do meet the exemption criteria of an outdoor commercial or public recreational facility. And so that includes baseball fields, football fields, hockey rinks, tennis courts, et cetera, et cetera. However, the ordinance does require that those lights get shut off at midnight. So we're kind of going back to our last recommendation, is that we just work with BPU. We can either get a rink light timer installed outside that just run off of a timer that they shut off automatically. But our recommendation is actually that we bring a shut off into the warming house for those lights, so that the warming house attendant can shut them down when they leave the park, much like they do for the one on the warming house itself. That way, all the rink lights are shut off after the 10 o'clock when the rink shut down, I believe, Katie?
8 o'clock.
8 o'clock. So that's kind of our thoughts. 8 o'clock, the lights will get shut off, and technically the parks are closed at 10. So that's what we're recommending. It'll be pretty minimal cost. I think the option to bring it into the warming house is going to be a little more expensive, but long term it makes a lot more sense that we have control of it inside the warming house instead of on a timer that we may forget to switch back during daylight savings or something like that. So right now it's not meeting the ordinance, but we can get it there at least this spring when we have the opportunity to rewire a few things.
Okay. Any discussion? Anybody? Yeah, Troy.
I think at our last meeting, we one of the things we were hoping to confirm was that this was something that more than one person, that we weren't going to disrupt a neighborhood by what one person's complaint was. In other words, was the rest of the neighborhood wanting them to stay on later for vandalism reasons or, and so I don't know if that was answered or not, but, and then are these are just Rink Lights? These are not park lights anywhere else in the park? It's just the lights around the rink?
Yeah, if I may, Mr. Chair, those were the lights that were
please.
installed, I believe, last year, just around the rink. And so all the rest of the sidewalk lights, the security lights we have in the park, those are exempt from the 12 a.m. rule. Those are for security purposes, so it's a different category. Being that these lights don't meet our ordinance, we, as staff, feel that we should probably, as the city, try our best we can to get those lights shut off if we've received a complaint about not meeting our own ordinances, so.
And then one.
Yeah, please.
The lights at Vane go off at the same time as well? 8 o'clock when the warming house shuts down? The only reason I ask that, sorry, is do we, and I know this year's a little different, we probably, it sounds like our numbers are down by reading through this, than previous years, but did we have a lot of people staying even after the warming house was closed to skate after 8 o'clock?
I'll let you answer that, Katie.
It's very rare. They would have to position their cars for light.
So the
So-
lights have always went off at 8 o'clock.
At least in the other rinks, I guess Gregory, those do stay on, but I don't, a lot of my warming houses are closing early due to low skaters, so.
All right. Thank you.
I lived near there, and I can say that there's somebody on that ice a lot. That Gregory Park rink gets used quite heavily. And I'm not sure if maybe it's one of the schools there locally, but there's times when I'll come by there and there's 30 or 40 kids out there on that ice, so that's great to see. It's getting used, yeah, for sure. Do you need a motion on this?
Just authorizing to move forward with the kind of revamping of that to get it inside the building, because right now there's no controls on it whatsoever, so.
All right, so it does sound like we will need a motion to authorize that movement, so.
Motion.
All right, we have a motion by Ms. Schaefer.
Second.
Second, any discussion? Hearing none, we'll vote by roll call.
Tim Boder,
Aye.
Dale Parks.
Yes.
Troy Rushmeyer, Kara Schaefer,
Yes.
Kevin Yeager.
Yes. That will conclude our old business. We are on to new business. Item 7A is request to review and approve the field reservation form. This is Katie. All right, take it away.
All right. Thank you, Chair and members of the board. This form was designed to help streamline the field reservations for outside entities such as Community Ed, the VVBA, YMCA, and et cetera. The form is to help the process be more transparent of expectations on both sides of the request from the city and on the participant that's reserving. The form presented in front of you is a draft. The draft is a little busy right now. We would look to spacing it out and making it a little more user-friendly if possible. There's some different options with drop-down menus that we might implement in the form if it makes sense and saves space. But as far as the form itself, there are a couple topics that I would like some discussion from the board on. One being the tennis courts. We currently collect $20 per person for the summer from the Center Senior Tennis Pickleball Program as an unwritten program fee. The second item is Legion, VFW, BBA, Brainerd High School for field rental. The park board did approve field rental fees are waived for Brainerd youth travel teams, provided all participants are registered in Brainerd Parks and Recreation Programs and American Legion, and VFW teams provided the teams rake out the pitcher's mound, home plate, and baselines after each game, plus tarp the plate and pitcher's mound. If field maintenance is requested, rental fees are applicable. And then a point to make is that we personally will not be using the high school fields this year because the Brainerd Baseball Association is taking over the tournaments, but they actually have a fee system they've implemented, the high school. So if we were running the tournaments, we'd be having to pay them this year. And then also another point to make is that Onamia High School has always paid a going rate for Mills Field when they meet another team for a game each spring. They've always paid us. But we've waived it for our high school and the VFW and the Legion. And then the third thing we wanted to talk about is the pond hockey rinks. We have charged in the past $25 per hour for reserving the outdoor rink. However, we have not charged for schools to use that rinks during the day, such as St. Francis or Discovery Woods. They've come and used the rink for free from us. So just some discussion on where we want to go with that in the future. And then we have not charged to reserve the warming houses outside of our warming house hours. So we usually collect a $25 key deposit for them to use the warming houses. So all of that being said, and the form being in front of you in a 3-part form, so the front part is what they would use. Sorry, I'm making you run all over the place. So this is the part where they would fill out, they would sign, and then the second page is more of a worksheet. We'd be looking to hopefully maybe be able to use equations in it, or formulas where it would total itself. So if someone put in, the number of days or something, it would auto-populate in the total. And then the third page is more of our policy, which we'd be probably working with a little bit, changing words here and there, depending on how discussion goes tonight. So that being said, our staff recommendation is that we keep the policy that we have one tennis court available at all times for the public. Staff also recommends we keep the policy that we have one pond hockey rink available at all times for the public. Staff recommends adopting the $25 per hour court rate, such as our field reservation, which is different from our field reservations, actually. It's 2 hours, but this is a long recommendation. I feel really bad for boring you. But most importantly, we actually believe as a staff that because of where we are in the year, that we honor our word with waiving the fees for the Legion, VFW, BBA, and the Brainerd High School this year, but it potentially implement these fees and not waiver from them in 2022. So staff is looking for direction in the future on how we want to implement these fees and to the high school, et cetera. And then the sooner or later we know what your direction is, then we can communicate that to those organizations and they can start planning ahead.
Gotcha. Thank you. Okay, so what I'm going to do here is she's actually asking us specifically for 4 key items. I say we work through those 4 key items first: the tennis, the baseball, pond hockey, and then the implementation of fees.
Yep.
And then if we don't cover anything in that, we'll cycle back to any global conversation that those didn't cover. Is that okay with everybody? All right, so let's start with our tennis. I'm going to throw it back to you real quick just to give us a quick summary of what you're asking us for specifically on tennis only.
Okay.
And then we'll take these item by item and give you a motion on each if you need it. Is that okay?
Sounds good.
Fantastic.
Okay, so tennis.
Yep.
We're looking at $25 per hour to reserve a tennis court. We want to make sure that we have at least one court available to the public at any given time.
Now,
Go ahead. Yeah, please.
right now, how much is, can we look up the form right now?
The form?
There's no form. I mean, what does it say right now? How much does it cost right now?
Currently, we do not charge to reserve
Okay.
our tennis courts. That
So
we
we're
have,
looking to now.
yep. We right now just kind of reserve it for our senior
Okay.
programming.
So they're the ones that collect $20 a person.
They collect $20.
Anyone else who wants to use the tennis courts is not charged. Is that what you're saying? Correct? And now we're saying we want to collect a fee to use the tennis courts?
It goes hand in hand with the high schools having to pay us basically. If like a high school wants to have a meet at one of our tennis courts, that they would pay.
Have they ever in the past?
Not that I know of.
Or if someone want, like in the future, they want to run programming on our courts potentially.
I think that's different if they want to run programming, but I guess I'm a little leery about all of a sudden we're charging them and we've never charged them in the past, without having some discussion with them on that. And or the public is getting, they say, well, what's the deal? Why are we charging now and we haven't in the past? And I'm just looking for answers of, what spurred the thought or the need to start charging to use our tennis courts? We're not talking individual people just going there and using them at any time. We're talking somebody saying, we need to run a tournament, we need some extra courts, can we use your courts and block that off to do that? Yeah.
Kim, sorry.
If I may. What kind of spurred it from my standpoint is we have a request each year from Crosby Ironton to have like a dual meet. They use the courts for a day. Tony in 2019 just randomly said $75. So with ISD 181, and this I think is another discussion, there's always been this unwritten reciprocity agreement for athletic facilities where we used Don Adamson Field for tournaments, they use Mills Field and everything else. Now the Montessori School and the St. Francis schools that use the rinks and the tennis courts are not ISD 181. Another discussion. But the biggest thing for me was the outside entities that want to come in, reserve 4 out of the 5 rinks for usually a day. I think there should be some kind of a fee that I can tell them. So that came from me.
Do those other schools pay, the Montessori and, so they don't, and
No, and they reserve for weeks on end whenever the seniors aren't there. And the seniors have started reserving 4 days a week instead of just 2 mornings to allow for rain makeups. It's just going to be more and more and more, a lot of reservations.
Mr. Chair, if I may.
Yeah, please.
I think what we're really looking for in all these recommendations is just consistency. There's been a lot of, over the years, handshake deals between this entity, this entity, this entity. And, really is what we really want is the streamlining part comes from consistency. And if we have a different rate per day or something, where we as staff can just implement these administratively, don't have to bring them forward, that kind of stuff. And people know upfront when they're filling out an application that, hey, I'm going to be charged for this, and I know what the charge is, instead of, hey, this is $75, and it's not written anywhere. It's just kind of
Right. That it's consistent.
Yep.
That it's consistent across the boards. Yes, please, Dave.
Can I just state, we need to be careful with this, just because the school district just made their changes this year, and they are currently having some blowback on that. There's some people in the community that have had some events that the price has drastically went up, and we've actually heard from some organizations that people have been moving events because of it. So I just wanted us to be aware of that as well, that it does have an effect on people's desire to have things in our area. And there was a price tag attached to one event that was staggering to me. And I would just want to make sure that we're being aware that, we don't want to get too far ahead of that and have that be a barrier, so.
All right. Thank you, Dave. And I guess what I'd like to add is that with the mindset that we're kind of carrying forward, like on our ball fields and that, I would like to see us at a kind of a cost neutral on when we have to have staff there, when we have actually out-of-pocket cost on the maintenance and the running of these facilities for a special event, I'd like us to be able to at least break even on that, but not necessarily use it as a profit center, you know, is kind of where I'm coming from on this. So, but I do like the idea of whatever it is, it's consistent across the board, just to make it easy on staff and, you know, cut back on the handshake, wink and nod type deals that are going on. So, yeah, please, Paul.
And I would, to that point, I would say that, you know, the fee structure, we can set that up however we want. You know, I would say on this case, it's just admin time. We're not out there.
Right.
We might blow the rinks off or the courts off, you know, a couple times a summer from leaves and pine needles, but it's not something that's maintenance intensive that we're out there spending days. So maybe it's a $10 fee or something just to cover Kim's time to put it into the reservation software, whatever it is, or
Do we
could come up with a structure even. You know.
Do we currently have any squabbling going on regarding people blocking off more time than we are we getting into that type of a scenario where we're getting squabbling with blocking off more time than another group, or a group that once on can't get on?
Not so much more time than the other, but I've had groups show up saying, well, we've got a permit, and another one says, well, here's mine, and we do not double book. So there have been, at the tennis courts anyway, with some groups, there's been little contention with the senior center and one of the schools.
But generally speaking, those larger groups know they need to book if they want to have.
And, yeah, and
Okay.
we do book them, and they do sign a permit that has the disclaimer stating that if the public requests it, they must release at least one court.
For the public. Yep.
So if I show up with my in-laws and want to play tennis in the afternoon, and it's already reserved, how do I know that?
They should have a permit. You know, that has their dates, hours, that the courts are reserved. And
Yeah, boater.
and that,
That cuts him out, right?
I really
You
haven't
don't
had
know
a
my in-laws.
problem. I really haven't had a problem from the public side of it. It's more the groups meet there at the same time and say, it's mine, no, it's mine.
Right, understood. Okay, so if I'm hearing correctly, what we're talking about is a fairly nominal, we're asking for a fairly nominal fee that'll be applied across the boards to groups that want to reserve the tennis courts. Is that right? Is that what staff's recommendation is?
Or free. I mean, if we're gonna say
Or free,
everyone's free,
right?
then everyone's free.
Right,
And not
understood.
charge for anything.
Yeah, please.
I think there would be more contention with the public or local organizations, if you will. Is, to me, I see no problem with charging a fee to, you know, a different community versus our school district or a school within our community or something that's within our community. I see, to me, that should be no problem. And I don't know that the fees that you have are out of whack for that. I mean, to me, and that kind of helps clear up some of the issues that, and maybe what this does for us in the future, say, do we need more tennis courts?
Right, right.
You know, does that need to be part of our future thinking, especially since it's, for the most part, you know, not heavy maintenance like a baseball field or something, but.
And we're getting some pickleball courts soon,
Yeah.
which should help a lot with.
But I'm just wondering if we can just say, let's just charge these organizations that are not within our community.
Does staff feel like they could filter what is inside our community and not outside of our community easily? Okay.
So what about the center now, since they're paying the $20 a person for the season? So are we using that money for anything, or will we just say, hey guys, surprise, you don't have to pay this year?
Now, you know, the seniors are willing to pay, so it's not a problem.
But I would say that we'd have to be fair across the board,
Yeah.
like we have been. You know, if it's a community organization, then if we're having free rentals or free reservations for the school district and things, we should be consistent across the board.
Any idea how much that is, what the center pays?
Probably she collects quite a bit, but they start in May and go until October also. They're there 2 to 4 days a week, the entire spring, summer, fall. The schools will come in for like 2 weeks, you know, for hours, so.
We ask for a suggested donation. If we make it $0 now, can we say, but if you're really feeling inclined to, we sure can give us a donation. Do we accept donations? Okay. I don't know. That might be something. No one will do it. Is that where you
Donations for
laugh?
court maintenance are strongly encouraged, being that they're free, we could put a statement on there. If they are free, that donations are encouraged to keep the courts nice and to go that route.
And no bottles donated.
No bottles.
Plastic.
I think the center comes in and blows off the courts themselves
Yeah,
quite
yep.
often too.
Yep.
So,
All right.
Can I get a clarification on the exact verbiage you want as far as Brainerd organization versus outside organization? Is there a certain way you want me to present that?
Well, that's why I asked if I thought you guys could filter it, because I'm not sure how to describe that either. But I guess where I'm thinking is you guys would know when an application comes in, if it's an outside, we talked about like Onamia, to me, that's outside. Yeah, something that where its origin is within the city of Brainerd, then I think that's city. Yeah, Baxter, yeah.
I would say within maybe the school district or something.
Which would include Nisswa and.
Yeah.
Yeah.
What about Crow Wing County? Like, would that be too far?
Yeah, that gets out there.
Crosby's in Crow Wing County.
Okay,
Harrison.
all right.
Yeah.
School district is probably a
That's
pretty
a
good.
pretty good one, I
Yeah.
would say.
Because we'll want to have it listed on the reservation form, because regardless of them not paying any money, we still want them to fill out the form for us to know, so,
Right.
yeah. Okay.
Okay, do we give enough direction on that? All right, okay, baseball's next. There's one. We got
Okay.
3 to go.
Okay. So this one, I think I read off the verbiage you guys approved for the 2021 fee schedule. And then I also mentioned that I think we would be wise to waive the fees this summer. But I guess we're looking for direction, and maybe you want to go the same direction as tennis here regarding what they should pay and what they shouldn't. But Paul mentioned we do want to make sure that our maintenance, if there is maintenance, workers assigned that is covered by the organization. So is there any discussion or ideas there on what we want to do moving forward?
Yeah, please, Troy.
I think these are valid questions. I just want to share, for instance, our board, we have some, and I think I might have a little bit, but we have some coaches that would love to see our travel ball start going and playing teams from out of town and not play rec ball at all. Just keep those travel teams together all the time. And many of us on the board have said, no way. We have got to partner with our community, with our park districts, with, whether it's run through Community Ed or Brainerd Parks and Rec. So right now, we're talking Community Ed, and it's running through Community Ed. And anyone on travel ball, we changed it, made it sure it was in our handbook that way. We just revised our handbook, just changed the verbiage to say Community Ed. They cannot play on a travel ball team unless they are registered and playing with a Community Ed team. For that reason, we're saying, no, this is hugely important. It's great for these kids. They don't have to stay on one team the whole time versus, and I'm just going back to how I grew up and many others were too, is that it was great to get off the travel team and play with some other kids, and those other kids benefit from that. You may have some kids that are on the edge a little bit and playing with higher skilled kids. It's a great thing, and they get to do a little coaching on their own, and again, back to the community. So we said, we're not going down that road. We're going to stay partnered with our community, with the school district, with the Baxter and Brainerd Park Park and Rec programs. That's vital to who we want to be. as far as costs go, I can see, I mean, I know, it costs money to maintain fields, I know that. Somehow they have, through Baxter pays for everything. They don't charge them a fee, they don't charge them for the aggregate, you know, anything they use. As a matter of fact, they said, last year they actually bought us some equipment. They said, hey, what do you guys need? And bought us some equipment. So I did tell them, I said, well, that's Baxter, it doesn't necessarily mean that it's gonna be the same way in Brainerd. And when Tony and I talked about this a year or two ago, you know, and I've reached out to other communities to say, how do you guys do this? How do you do this with your park and rec programs? And they say, some pay them a one-time fee each year versus, to me, huge headache. We want to charge $25 or $50 for every practice. That is going to add up really, it's going to be a headache just to logistically try to manage that. You know, so some associations do pay their park district annual fee with unlimited use of their fields. In order to do that, and I talked to Tony about this before, is that the park and rec program kind of has to say, this is what we're spending each year for this. And maybe it has to be broke down if you want to charge certain entities, you know, VFW, Legion, or the association, how much are we spending during those times when they're using the fields? And I know that might be a lot of work, but I think it's the partnership that I think everyone benefits from. And this year, if we could move forward without charging, because as a new association, we don't know how things are gonna go and what it's gonna look like financially either. And so, and almost seems like there should be some discussion with Baxter as well to say, how are you guys able to do this? How are you able to pay for all this? Because I know it's not cheap. I know that there's a cost that's associated with it. And I have shared that with the co-chairman of the association, that just so you know, moving forward, we may have to pay an annual fee. To me, that's the only logical way to do that versus trying to charge a fee for each practice and each time you're gonna have a game. But sometimes those games come up, oh, hey, let's get together for a doubleheader on Saturday. And, you know, it might be a week's notice or something. And you guys know how practices go. That's, I mean.
Cancellation, rain, all that.
And our, you know, I think the biggest thing is just trying to schedule practices between rec ball and travel ball, and we have actually had someone that just raised their hand to be that person in the association to manage the schedule for practices and games, which is, as I've told them, it's going to be some good communication with Parks Department on both Baxter and Brainerd's end of it. So, to me, I would like to see that no fee continue, but perhaps look at over this summer, hopefully we have a normal summer without a COVID issue, and look at and meet with the association and or Baxter and say, because Baxter may eventually want to do the same thing. You know, I know they've always paid for it, but are they always going to? I don't know. Does that mean we have to? I don't think it does. But it would be nice, as it's been a few decades trying to make this happen. I know several other people have tried to make this merger with Baxter and Brainerd come together, and we finally did it, and we're all hoping it works. Not for the benefit of any of us, but for the benefit of the kids in the community and the families in the community. So that's my 2 cents on it.
Thanks, Troy. Anybody else with some thoughts?
So if you're not looking to change the prices this year, correct? So should we, do you want to have, like, is this your proposed for 2022 then, this list?
Not necessarily, it can be
Okay.
changed.
Okay. So this is what you're thinking maybe?
It was, yeah.
Okay.
Yep. Obviously, we don't charge for practices, but what I'm hearing is that you would like us to collect the data of the amount of money, time that goes into, for example, prepping a field or something. Like our maintenance staff, we pay them to like prep the field during the day for a game or something. Keep track of the money that goes into these fields for all of these different BBA, Legion, VFW, Brainerd High School, and then come back to you guys with that amount. And then maybe we can make a better decision in the
I think
future.
that sounds great, actually.
I think that would be, and the only reason I say if there's somehow to break it out, for instance, community ed, they're gonna have a lot of games scheduled, right? And they're gonna have a lot of practices scheduled. And so that's gonna be, what travel ball needs is gonna be different than what they need. And the other part of that, again, is we wanna make sure that we're partnering with this community. What this could turn into otherwise, I'm afraid, and I'm gonna, at least while I'm involved with it, is that it doesn't turn into all these teams going and playing games in St. Cloud and Monticello and Baxter and everywhere else but Brainerd. So I think that would be a disservice to our community to do that.
And I'm not sure that this model is really all that different than what another way to look at this would be what the banner sales is potentially at play with baseball also, right? I mean, we're talking about using banner sales to help offset some of this field cost. There's no reason that exact same, platform couldn't be used to help with this as well. So I think there's lots of ways in which money could be raised to help offset some of this cost. But first, we want to know how much it is, and I think this is a great year to maybe just understand that a little bit better moving forward. We've already got our staff set aside for this year, and we know what we got coming up, and they're already budgeted for and done. So, Mr. Bedell, please.
I don't hate the idea of a yearly thing. In coming into next year, you guys would have an idea of what that is. And from our standpoint, if we have actual data, and we have numbers, and we can kind of put together what the cost of it is on our end. I don't want to keep harping on the school district, but that document that they've created and that fee schedule, it is per item, per hour, and it is, just from people's perspective, it's daunting to look at that because those dollars start adding up really, really quickly. So if we can avoid that, it would be ideal. But I'd like that approach, whether it's free or what it's not. The one thing I do want to continue to recommend to us is that we understand that youth sports do drive economic activity in our area. So the more we can have kids playing sports in our area, it's good for us. So whatever we can do to figure that out, find the data, come up with a solution that works.
Yeah, Troy.
If I may. And additionally, we've looked at these tournaments and even looked at, okay, now we have the luxury of having Brainerd and Baxter fields. So we've already toyed with, we can potentially increase the size of these tournaments moving forward, and for financial reasons.
With the added fields.
With the added fields, and even, for instance, I always hate when we have to get up at 6:30 and be in the field by 7, or 5:30 and be in the field by 7 because we have an 8 o'clock game. With this additional field availability, we can even push some of those morning games out a little bit to allow teams to relax, even for an extra half hour in the morning is huge. And so we really see the potential to even increase the size of these things to bring more funds into the community as well. So.
Feel like you have, oh, sorry, please, yeah.
Do you think we should put like a asterisk or something on the page to let people know fees may increase, or would we not need to do that? Because I know we're concerned about changing fees in February of this year, which I get, but like, do we want to let people know, or would we have them posted by like October of this year for 2022?
So gather the data up until the end of summer,
Yeah.
present it to park board, and then reevaluate our form is kind of how I see it
I don't know, I just
going.
think people probably need
Before
some kind of heads
2022.
up.
Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah,
So we're letting them know in advance.
Yeah, we're
before-
gonna have a lot of work to do during the summer to try to figure this out first, but
Right.
we can just continue using our old forms and continue on this, so.
yeah.
So as far as team, like schools like Onamia renting Mills Field, are we still planning on charging them?
I think that should be the same. I think
So
Outside of
use
the school district, right?
outside the school district, carry that through the baseball, and then,
I like it.
okay.
Seems to be uniform that way.
Yeah.
Okay.
And in that also, I also like that they have to maintain the fields, clean up the fields when they're done. To me, that's good for them to learn. You know, when they hit VFW, they have to do it. If they have to do that prior to that, great. Let them recognize that it's work for everyone. So it doesn't hurt them to stay after a few minutes and do some field maintenance. But I think, Mills is the only one that has the pitchers
Right,
mound covered,
right.
right?
And that's the one that they'd be
But
reserving.
It doesn't stipulate that, the way it reads, that every field has to have that onto it. But,
No.
At least in your comments here, I think, but I think we just wanna make sure that that's known.
You got what you need, Katie, you think?
Yeah, that
Okay.
helps me with the baseball side of things, and then.
Pond hockey's next.
Yes. So pond hockey is, I don't know exactly where I'm going with this. We already have the $25 per hour concept. But now that we're looking at waiving fees, I just want to bring to your attention that Baja has been very interested in reserving the pond hockey rinks. And if they could get it for free, being a local organization, I don't know. I mean, as long as we have one pond hockey rink available, but they might reserve it completely every single day. If they can get it for free versus, I don't know what they get it at the Civic Center for, but.
Yeah, please.
What rates is the pond hockey played on?
It would, well, as far as adult pond hockey or youth pond hockey?
Oh,
So adult pond hockey is one of my programs and it's ran at Bain Park. So I get kind of priority there. And then youth pond hockey is ran at Mill Avenue, which would be then ran over at Memorial once it's built.
I think it's a little different in the fact that we have limited usage in comparison. Yeah, tennis courts are kind of limited also, but, they could very easily monopolize that, and I don't think we wanna do that for them.
Exactly.
Others who wanna just go and skate and.
With tennis, we require that one of them be left open for the public. I mean,
Correct.
could we adopt some version of that? Because I would also argue that having our rinks full all day long, irregardless of whether they're Baja or is like a really good thing, just kids there I think that'd be. Correct. That's, to me, I see it as, they're Brainerd kids, they're using it just because they're funneling through an organization. The more use, the better, but I do like the concept of having at least one reserved open to the public at some point. I don't know if that could be done, but
But there's only one rink at Bain,
only one at Bain.
and then we're gonna have one small one, one big one at Memorial. So are we gonna have to set up some sort of you're only here for 2 hours, that's all you can reserve it for? Some kind of a limit on what they can reserve it for? It's tough, because Baja's gonna say, well, we got 16 different levels.
And who's to say that just because we put a fee on it doesn't mean that they wouldn't take it anyways?
Right.
And monopolize it anyways, you know, knowing what we know about hockey and.
Is this for next
Oh, sorry,
year, right?
Kara.
Yeah.
Yeah. So again, I wonder, I mean, I think we just need to look at it. I know you're wanting to answer this today, but I think we need to think about how much it is and then like kind of the things we're talking about today. So putting a limit on it, but fine, they'll pay $60 for 2 hours and they'll do it all weekend or all week. Like, that's great. We have people using the fields or the rinks. If we leave one open for the public, I mean, that's just something, might be cheaper than being inside at the Essential Rink, I don't even know what it costs, but maybe just to kind of use this year to kind of plan it and then know that next year, again, not trying to put it off, because I know you have a lot going on in the summer, but to make that decision right now might be kind of tricky.
I think what we might find out again, same with, that we need another rink. Or, you know, we're giving up 2 for 1.5, and, you know, part of my mind is thinking about that open space over by Garfield School, and it might be part of our long-term plan that we say we need more rink space.
I know you're gonna say it, but I'm gonna call on you anyways, Dave.
You know exactly what I'm gonna say. We have a warming house at J.C.'s Park, and there was a hockey rink there at one time. So just a heads up. The biggest cost is the warming house.
We had a rink there at one time, is that right?
There was a rink there at one time. It was actually paid for by the residents over in that area, and they would like to see that rink returned.
The background is we had a rink and a warming house there, and now we just have the warming house at JC's.
So did Buffalo Hills.
Yeah,
Now
it
it's a
was like-
softball field.
I'm like, I'm
Oh, that's
pretty
right, Buffalo,
sure
yeah.
Buffalo Hills had one.
Right.
I don't know.
So now, we are now asking Katie to do something different than the other platforms, but,
Okay.
But yeah, we want consistency.
but yeah, we want consistency,
in all
right?
Programs.
Right. Kim, please.
If I may.
Yes.
Another difference with warming houses versus tennis courts. Warming house hours are very limited. We don't open till 4 in the afternoon. So if you open it up to these groups, come in, you're gonna have to issue keys and deal with that and hope there's adult supervision to make sure they're not destroying the insides of the buildings. So it's a little different in the summertime when the bathrooms are open all day.
Right,
Another factor.
right. The hockey rink's definitely a more intensive use, for sure, from the warming house side and all. Dave?
The one comment that I made to Jennifer here off to the side was just that we do want to make sure as well that we're not just making this something where they're not using their own facilities because they can come use ours
Right.
for cheaper.
That's
There's
what
a
I was
cost
worried about.
associated with them using their own facilities as well. So we just want to keep in mind with that. But again, I'm all supportive of data.
You gotta remember the exact number, but I believe it's $160 an hour to use the arena. Or as opposed to a lot cheaper here for free.
So are we wanting to differentiate then between associations and a school that wants to use the rink for PE?
I would say the baseball association, let them do whatever they want. The rest of them,
No wonder they
We don't know that this problem actually exists yet either, though, guys, right? We don't know for sure that Baja's gonna overrun these rinks and, you know, be doing, so, and we have the ability, there are rinks, we have the ability to say, okay, we've got a problem here, guys, now, and we could address this as it comes, so, I'm just throwing that out there also, is that we could adopt something similar and see what happens, but, obviously, the warming house conversation is part of it. Kim?
We used to just rent out one of the rinks at Mill Avenue most of the time because there were 2 rinks there. Then you at least had one open.
Sure.
So I know you're not really gonna be able to get data this year, though, so that's gonna be the one tricky part with the hockey stuff, because obviously there's no pond hockey this year. So I know that will be tricky, so I don't know if there's something, I feel,
Yeah, I guess I'm just
How?
trying to get clarification as far as if we want a fee or if we don't want a fee, looking into it.
for the warming
next year.
houses.
Yeah,
That
warming
particular
houses, pond hockey rink.
Yeah.
We approved the $25 per hour. It's an approved fee for the rink,
We did that already.
correct?
We've had that.
Yep.
I mean, I think we should have a fee then. I mean, I feel like the pond hockey stuff is a lot more maintenance, has a lot more maintenance to it than a tennis court or whatever you're talking. We blow out the tennis courts from the leaves or the sand. You guys have to flood the rinks. You have to shovel the rinks. You have someone at the warming house working. If they rent it, does there have to be an attendant there?
The warming house? No, they're issued a key.
Oh,
And
okay, that's it.
The
That's what you
idea behind the form would be that they fill it out, they reserve it, they sign
Yep.
like saying that they're not gonna destroy the place and that, you know, like what the key is, and if it's destroyed, we keep the 25, maybe charge more if it's really bad, but, yeah, so do we wanna differentiate between the pleasure rink and the pond hockey rinks? Cause that's kind of, cause the schools reserve usually the pleasure rinks. So, we can just table it and move it to this fall if you guys would rather.
We could try to put a bunch of data together this summer about what it costs for us to maintain them. There's a lot of moving parts in those, just like field maintenance too, so it'll take us a while to get stuff put together, especially in a really busy summer, so.
And less total availability also, less
Yes.
rinks than ball fields and tennis courts.
Last thing, I would say maybe similar to a pavilion rental. I mean, they're like, you have 65 and 85 for the weekend. I don't know if a team would play that, if they would pay that or something. Because if they're inside and we're gonna have to clean the bathrooms and we might have to clean up after them, vacuum, I have no idea, sweep. I think it should be more than $20, but it all depends on the situation. But if, no, you think I'm crazy? What? Yeah, but I know it's gonna be hard to get data for
And
that.
are we just using daylight hours for the rinks, or we have to pay, if we have to turn the lights on, do we have to pay extra for that?
I'm hoping that the rinks will have a rink attendant there during that time that are just being paid to be there, if we need the lights on. When we have ice, it's the times when they're not around, I think, and then the pond hockey in general. But we can, like I said, we can talk about this at a later time. I'm feeling like
There's
we're
just
kind
a
of.
lot of data that we need to
There
go
is.
through. It sounds like that there's,
Everyone here is struggling to try and figure this one out. for sure.
Yeah.
So if I'm hearing everyone correctly, we're gonna leave it as it is for now, the $25. We're gonna try and collect some data throughout and try and be a little more prepared for this. We may have an idea of what's coming, a little better idea of how COVID and everything is gonna affect the oncoming or the upcoming winter season, and we might be a little better prepared later. Is that right, everyone? Good with that?
Yeah.
All right. Oh, yep, please, Troy.
This form, is that something that somebody could fill out online and just submit?
It's not part of our BSNA software. It would be a fillable PDF that they could print off or fill out online and then email us right now, but it's not something they could. Is that the BSNA thing? ActiveNet. Oh, ActiveNet?
Yeah, it's on our software.
Yeah. Do we have the ability to reserve a facility online?
We have the ability, we have not implemented online reservations.
The form right now is just a base fillable PDF that they could email us.
So we have to print it, fill it out, scan it.
Well, not necessarily print off. They could still they could fill it out on the computer, save it, and send it.
Okay, good. There was one more here, the implementation of fees. Is that a continuation of this discussion we just had, or is that a separate item, Katie?
Recommendation of fees.
I think that was just a consistency.
Okay.
Conversation.
All right, gotcha.
I think that there'll be a lot more to come. You know, I think the biggest thing we're looking for tonight is, you know, if we're kind of moving in the right direction on this, but it sounds like we need to do some more homework and we can come back with some changes and really dive into each program specifically and figure out some costs and things.
I think if I'm hearing from the group, the general consensus is that we want to be as close to cost neutral on the daily maintenance of ball fields, tennis courts, those types of things, not necessarily use them as a profit center, right? That generally what the group is saying?
Especially for our community population.
For sure. For the school district group, yeah, for sure. So hopefully that helps a little bit. Maybe not, I don't know. Whew, 7A is in the books. All right, 7B, request to review and approve field banner, letter, and contract. This is Katie also.
Okay, this will be shorter. All right, so this is a letter and contract that all I did was update it with the youth banner information. So I'm looking to keep the fees the same for 2020 21, and we can, based off of the banners sales we receive, adjust that if we'd like to for 2022. But I'm looking to keep it at the $150 per banner per field, and then there is some discounts involved if you get like 3 years or 3 fields, 1 year, etc. So the staff is recommending we keep the same rate and that we just add the field space to the possible areas for advertising for youth, and staff recommends approving the banner contract form.
Seems pretty cut and dry.
Have we ever, sorry,
Yeah, please, Kara.
have we ever had any banners at the dog park?
Yes,
Okay. What are they for? I'm just curious, like pet.
usually it's
PetSmart or
dog
something?
related.
What?
Dog related. So if we make money on the, like, so, I'm trying to think, Tony sold one for the dog food that's out of Perham or Frazee. I'm trying to think of what it's.
Well, Tuffy's.
Yeah, like Tuffy's.
They made a donation
Yeah, and.
for the lights.
Yep, and so they got a banner out of it, or, there's a pampered dog, boarding place that also donated like $500 towards our special events or dog programming, so then we let them have a banner. So,
Have we ever considered printing banners? I know that would cost us money, but like, for instance, if I don't want to find a banner and I want one up at the park, I'll pay you $200 to make me a banner. Has that ever happened?
people have mentioned it, but, what we've usually just said, if you could just please make your own banner, here are some local options for you. The reason is some people already have their banners printed, and we're sometimes we can negotiate the size. Like if it's instead of a 4x8, it's a 4x7 or something, that's fine, we'll hang it still. We have recommendations because we know that they'll last better on the adult fields. Like if they have double embroidered, they have a certain amount of grommets or a certain material, they last better. But we do recommend that they make them themselves. I'm open to, if you would like me to bid out having that capability, I could look into that, to do that for
We don't have-
organizations.
I was just curious if it, not that I want you to become a banner maker or whatever, but if that was an option, if someone didn't have banners.
Dave, please.
You could potentially have a preferred distributor, you could, that we work with, that maybe they get a banner for free or something along the lines, and then we send the business to them. I don't know, you could go that route. The one thing, when I'm looking at your letter here, if I can make one suggestion, is just mentioning somewhere in there that the money goes specifically for the fields. Like, your money for this goes specifically for the fields.
Okay.
That was the only thing. Other than that, I think it looks fantastic.
And I guess from my chair on the pricing side, I always think, just looking at it from the business aspect, you keep it modestly priced until you're filled up, and then once you have no longer room and there's competition for the space, then you think about raising the banner price. But at this point, I would say make it as easy as possible for people to, I know Dave disagrees with that, if Dave is confident that we're gonna sell out on banners anyways, then I would absolutely entertain, we jack up the price right now, but at this point, I'd like to see us fill it first.
The mayor is not on the park board, so that is your
That's
decision.
true. All right, do you need a motion on this, Katie? Is there any further discussion anyways, anybody? Do you need a motion on this, or are we good?
Approve. What was that?
4x8, is that what it was?
4x8, correct. The motion, staff recommends approving the banner contract with any of the park board changes requested. So I will modify the letter to specifically say the money goes directly to the fields.
I would make a motion to approve.
All right, we have a motion for Mr. Rushmeyer,
Second?
second for Mr. Boder. Any discussion? Hearing none, we'll vote by roll call.
Tim Boder,
Aye.
Dale Parks,
Yes.
Troy Rushmeyer,
Yes.
Kara Schaefer,
Yes.
Kevin Yeager.
Yes, motion carries. Request to, sorry,
Katie, looks good.
Yes,
Oh.
thanks for the time and effort into these. There's obviously a lot of work that has gone into these first 3 items.
Don't take that the wrong way, but it looks good this time.
Request to review food truck application and policy. On to the food trucks. Boom, boom, boom. Exciting
Okay.
stuff.
All right, so hopefully you guys kind of read through this. Sorry, thank you, Chair and members of the board. This was kind of brought to our attention last park board meeting by Dale. There was that public confusion of why do we have to pay this if we're never not gonna make enough profit to even justify paying that? So we had some inner discussion with staff on where do we really want to go with this and what is fair to our community. So our staff is recommending editing our food vendor policy / agreement to reflect that food vendors not operating out of a food truck in support of an event in the, like a Brainerd community public event in our Brainerd parks will be assessed 0 charge. Food vendors operating out of a food truck would pay a daily rate of $50 or an additional $50 to the Parks Department on top of their $300 annual fee paid to the Planning Department to operate in zones provided by the Planning Department. Just another comment would be is if they pay they pay $50 up into $350. It wouldn't be just they keep paying $50 on and on and on. It would be up into $350. So they're not. So if they pay to serve within the zones by the Planning Department, and it would just be an additional $50 to serve in our parks. Any discussion?
The one question I have on the recommended motion is I can see people who drive up with a food truck, park it a block away, carry their stuff up, and operate it in support of an event in Brainerd, for the Brainerd Parks Department. So if they did that, would we charge them or not? And how could we say you have to be charged $50? You know what I'm saying? The wording just has to be specific enough so that somebody doesn't take advantage of the fact that I'm not selling out of my truck. Here's my table, and I'm selling stuff. I don't know if you see what I'm seeing. That just has to be clear that if it's a nonprofit organization or however you want to define that, because I understand the food truck piece and what you're trying to get at. I guess I just don't want somebody trying to cut around that and sell product that they're not selling out of a truck because the truck's down the road or whatever and somebody else is supplying them. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
So, I mean, the idea, I like the idea, it's just that I just think that you have to be careful on the wording.
Okay. Is there a wording you would like us to use? Or anyone on the board have any ideas?
You could add or perceived restocking from a food truck. You could have what you have, where you say not operating out of a food truck or restocking,
Or storing product.
from a food truck. I don't know, but
I have a separate question.
Yes, please.
Dave, do you see this affecting the arts in the park at all with all those food trucks or people coming to sell items?
This is a great question, because actually that was my first question to Paul when I saw this was, how does this affect that? And I was not aware that they needed to have a $300 license in order to do it. I don't know if that was happening in the past. It must have been behind the scenes on their end. I don't think so. I don't think it'll really be that big of an issue, because the majority of them are coming for 2 different events. So they're getting a license here. They do pay a fee to us to be there. That's part of our fundraising. From our end of things, then we would have the fee, would we not? Is that how that works?
Go ahead.
Unless you want me to answer.
So the $300 is through the Planning Department to serve
That's on
within
their
the
end,
zones,
though.
correct. And then we actually had a separate application for $350 to serve, you know, a year in our parks. Otherwise, it's a daily fee. We were saying, why don't we just have the money go to the planning department and then just charge them the $50 on top of that to serve in our parks? Why are we charging them $300 for the city and then $350 for our parks for the year? We don't see that. I mean, do we see many people that pay the yearly fee to our parks?
The park board originally modeled this after the city's form. And we have never assessed an annual fee because we don't have any food trucks in the park on a regular basis. It's just been for special events.
So that is a good question then. So then would we pay the $50 fee for having food trucks there, or would each one of the food trucks have to pay $50 for being there? Because that would affect it then, because they would have essentially have to be paying an additional fee, and then they pay us as well in order to be there.
Paul?
I think the question coming from staff is why do we have two separate processes, one for parks and one for the city, when we should just, if someone wants to be a food truck vendor in the city, let's have one application, not have them go through two separate departments. You know, that way they can operate in a parking lot and they can go to a park too. And the planning department's satisfying their requirements and we have ours, and they're paying the $50 to parks and the $300 to the city, and then if they want a one-day rental in a park, they're paying $50 up to $350. So we just wanted to simplify it. Right now, you're going two different locations to get.
I think that it's entirely possible that the charter is to blame for this, because the charter exclusively says that the park board is in charge of everything that happens in their park. So I think that probably was the impetus of this whole thing happening this way, is the way the charter is written. The parkland is different from city land. So I think that might have been how it started. I'm not sure that solves anything, but I can see how that got to a place where the park board said, oh, we want to see everything that happens there. So anybody else? Anything? Kim? No?
Just real quick.
Yeah.
Years ago, Dale probably remembers, we had issues with, we had a certain area that people could be at with their food trucks, and then no brick and mortar places could be affected by that. I don't know if that still is part of the same stipulation now, but what do we have for a limit as far as Bob and Don's shrimp tacos out at Memorial Park, or sitting down here right across the street on any given day on that $350 total that they're paying for the year?
I believe we do have a limit. It's a radius to a brick and mortar serving, I believe.
Like 100 feet or something.
I just remembered part of why this came about. It's because of our concession stands. We didn't want a whole bunch of vendors coming into the parks competing with our concession sales.
That's exactly what we want right now. Right.
And then Tony wanted to raise some money for Pumpkin Festival and was charging vendors coming in $50 for a special event. So.
So it's the big question, do we want to charge $50 or not?
And have one application that runs through planning. Parks gets their cut if they want to serve in parks. Otherwise, if they just want to serve in parks, it would be $50 a day.
Yeah, I think that works, because again, this is always something we can come back and revisit if it becomes a problem. If food trucks in our parks become
food
some
truck,
sort of a problem.
They have to be licensed. They have to
Yep.
provide that.
Yep.
Which, and that does bring up another point that I want to ask in a second, but do we have consensus on this, that the additional 50 is good to go, right?
I hopefully you guys don't feel like it's something that's really changing. The only
Right.
thing that we're eliminating is the $350 yearly thing.
Right.
Right, and that like, the center can sell donuts off of a table.
That was the first
Right.
part of it,
Yeah.
correct?
Yeah.
That in support of an event, not out of a food truck, that a vendor could sell and not be charged to do that, in support of a community event.
So the one thing sorry, Dave, go ahead.
No, I
please.
just want to ask for my own clarification then for Arts in the Park. Because you guys aren't collecting from me who they are. So how does that work on my end then? As an event that's hosting food trucks, how does that work on my end?
They need to come in and get an application. So any food truck that wants to serve at Arts in the Park, you would just direct them to come to the city
Okay.
and take out their If they want to serve the city-wide, they can do the $350 application and then have the park access and city access.
Okay.
If they just want to do it for a day in the park, they can pay $100 or $50, 2 days, $100, whatever they want to do.
And then on our application, we are not paying for the food trucks then?
You shouldn't
I
have to.
believe that's what
they would
we're
come in
doing in the
separately.
past. Okay, all right. That's just for my own clarification.
Never done it for Arts in the Park, so.
I haven't?
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah, it's gonna be a little bit different, but that's fine.
It's up to the vendor to get their license, in my opinion.
So a quick question that I had, just real quickly, is we had talked about some smaller organizations like the center coming in and donuts and those types of things. We have the North Side who does their, food trucks are regulated by Food and Health. Serving in our parks, they pay a fee, but they come in, they're regulated food service. These smaller organizations, hypothetically, unless I'm not thinking about this correctly, would not be regulated. And I want to make sure with city staff that maybe we run this up the flagpole a little bit just to make sure that we're okay letting an outside entity come in, pay a fee to serve food in our parks that is not Food and Health regulated.
The center donuts are regulated.
Perfect. And they very well might be. I'm just seeing, because we did talk about, I know the North Side, they set up a little food thing once a year. They serve hot dogs and some things like that. And I believe this fits the description of, please, Kim.
Nonprofits are also required to have a special event license from the Minnesota Department of Health.
All right, fantastic. That covers it then. Sounds like we're good.
Yes.
And if they
I think-
don't, you know,
and
I
the center
mean,
does.
I
Yep.
quit paying it years ago because it was getting so expensive for our little fundraiser that we did to donate back to the park, so.
Right.
To me, they should be able to operate under the radar. I mean, if we start seeing people dropping E. coli, we'll quickly figure it out.
I like it. Do it till it's a problem.
I think it's important that we still have like a vendor form so we know who's selling in our parks.
Right. Oh,
And
yeah,
then
for
we
sure.
require
Yeah, absolutely.
that documentation to have on file,
Yeah.
so,
Yeah.
okay.
All right, we're good on that one? Guess what D is? Another form discussion. Park facility use form.
Okay. So this is mine as well. Thank you, Chair, members of the board. This is, I don't have a form to show you today. I have the idea of assimilating it similar to the field form where it's a 3-part system. We currently do have a pavilion reservation form, but I would like to add open space, and this is why. I don't want it to get out of control, but I would like to welcome organizations that want to do yoga in the park or karate in the park and pay a nominal $50 fee for the entire summer just to operate, because they plan on having participants that pay them. It's only fair that we take somewhat of a cut, and a very small at that, and that we are able to take that reservation and put it in our system so we're aware of it. So, for example, we don't have a trash collector banging trash cans when people are doing yoga in the park, or someone's not driving their lawnmower through the karate that's happening. So it's more for our awareness, but I would like to see us move in that direction where we're welcoming organizations into our park to put on programs. So the staff recommendation is to assign staff to update the request for use of city facility form to include park open spaces with park boards included reservation fee suggestion. We suggest $50 for the summer. And then any stipulations furthermore, with the full intent of creating the form similar to the field reservation form, being a fillable PDF. Any discussion?
Please.
What's to stop a group from saying, no, they're charging a fee now, let's say we're not with any organization, we just called each other and said, hey, let's meet at the park and perform some yoga, or, I'm just thinking as far as policing that, how do we say, no, baloney, I know who you are, and I know you're in that karate group.
We make sure we're cutting the grass at exactly the time they're meeting.
No, I'm just,
In that spot.
I'm just playing the devil's advocate here.
I think you bring up a really great point. Obviously, it'd be kind of an honor system, but we wouldn't be looking to put this form in front of the slackliners of Brainerd, where they show up as a group and go slackline, or put this in front of the disc golfers that have already established there when they come and when they go. But this would be for special, like karate. They advertise it on their website. We're going to be in Gregory Park at this time, every Monday and Tuesday. You're paying for this instructor. And then I would like to, at Brainerd Parks, to be able to advertise for them and say, look what's happening in our parks. So it'd be like a two-way, we'd help advertise for them as well for the $50 for the summer.
I was gonna say that, except maybe you can have something on the contract that says you guys pay us, but then we put your event on our Facebook page twice a summer or whatever. So that maybe
on our
that would be
website,
an incentive for them to want to pay us $50.
Again, it's getting people in parks, and I think that's great. I just,
Good? You need a motion on that? Nope.
I don't think so. I think we got direction on that
I
one.
got direction.
All right, we're going on to item F. This is a request to purchase a upgraded stump grinder. This has got to be Paul.
Yeah, thank you. So in the 2021 capital equipment budget, we had budgeted for a stump grinder, or Tony had before he left. The amount was $15,000. Other equipment that we had budgeted for was a new Toro mower, a new skid steer, and a cab for our snow blower. Through the procurement process of those other three pieces of equipment that I just talked about, we had some savings that we realized. We actually got the bill for the mower today. We saved more than I actually thought we did. So that number that you see at the bottom of is this budgeted, that we would be over budget, three pieces of equipment would be about $1,300. We're actually going to be under budget, even with buying the upgraded stump grinder. Realized that mower came in about $3,000 less than what I had thought or what's in the agenda request. So a little bit of a change there, but really talking with Troy and with our street department, because this will be kind of a joint use piece of equipment. They both felt that the one that we had planned to purchase is not going to work for what we need it for. It's too small. We have a lot of big trees that have died recently, and the stump grinder that Tony had planned for is frankly not going to be big enough. And so what this one is, it's an upgraded model. It's about $5,000 more dollars, but we think with the budget savings of the other three pieces of equipment, that we're still going to be under budget for all four pieces. And so really we're just looking for authorization to buy the stump grinder using the savings from the other three pieces of equipment, the one that'll work for our needs. Not buying the four-wheel drive version, that's another $5,000 or $6,000. We just need a bigger one that's a stand behind that'll work a little better for our needs. So that's what we're asking for here, is just authorization to spend that that money that we didn't utilize for the other three pieces as part of the stump grinder purchase that we have indicated. So
Makes sense. One's gonna work as opposed to being too small, so. Do we need a motion for that, or do we?
We do.
Then I would make that motion.
All right, we got a motion
I'll second it.
and a second. Any discussion? Hearing none, we'll vote by roll call.
Tim Boder,
Aye.
Dale Parks.
Yes.
Troy Rushmeyer, Kara Schaefer,
Yes,
Kevin Yeager.
Yes, motion carries.
I'd like to learn how to use the stump grinder. They look like fun. So which one is it, the 62 or the 30?
it's the 362.
Okay.
Yep.
Either way, it looks cool.
Yeah. It'll be a nice piece of equipment. We've cut a lot of trees down and not left the stumps there, and they kind of become a problem. So
And that'll pay for itself.
yeah.
So,
Request to review grant opportunity. Katie, Paul.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. So this was brought forward, I think, by Kevin, actually, that there was this grant opportunity. I think we applied for it last year. It's a maximum of $250,000, minimum of $10,000. I believe we applied for it last year for some trails in Memorial Park as part of that project. Reading through the grant application, it's due March 31st, so a quick turnaround. It's through the State Outdoor Recreation. It's through the DNR. There's a lot of different requirements that goes into this, and there are funds that come from federal sources, so I'm a little nervous about that, about federalizing a project. But there's a 50% match also that's required to this. And so we would have to identify a project that is kind of already in the works. So Memorial Park does ring a bell, however, I think the grants only can become available in about the fall, and they have to be utilized in 2022. There's quite a bit of review. There's historical preservation review from SHPO. I can't remember the other ones that it was saying in the app if you had a chance to look through it, but my biggest concerns are the fast turnaround is, from a staff perspective, is going to be difficult to put something together. This came from Seth, I believe. There's a lot of reporting and monitoring requirements that are going to become part of this. You know, certainly we can take some, you know, have some discussion if we're interested in this is an annual thing, and so it's not just a 1-year grant opportunity. So if we start developing some projects, this is certainly something we should try to tap into. The biggest things that we have to be aware of is that if this money is federal, like I think it is, there's going to be a lot more reporting requirements that come with that money, along with a 50% match. So you know, we were looking for maybe some guidance if we would like to apply for this again this year. We could steal the information from the last grant app. I'd have to look at what we applied for to make sure. I think Tony worked with someone to put this together last year, but just all things to consider. There's a lot of, when we have federal funds, and I've ran into this on road construction projects, the process becomes very arduous, and so usually city staff doesn't have the capability of handling a project with federal funds. There's just a lot more paperwork at the end when it's all said and done. So just that the board is aware of that, that this is usually something that we would consult out on my side, on the engineering side. But, you know, it's certainly something that we could, together as a board, can look at. You know, I know Lum Park Beach was brought up at one point. This would fit well into that. The beach house, any of that kind of stuff. There's a lot of flexibility in the program, I think. If we had a specifically identified project that we had quite a ways down the path of design, conceptually, cost estimates, things like that. So just looking for any feedback on ideas. You know, at this time, we made the staff recommendation that we don't think it's the right time to apply for it this year, but we can certainly do what the park board wants. If we want to submit a grant again this year, as we did last year, so.
Yeah, a little background, this is the same grant from last year, if we remember. I think it was 1,600 if I remember right, was it? Was it 3,000?
Number, yeah.
Maybe not.
We paid Seth to submit it on our behalf, yes.
Assist with the
Yep,
application.
So we didn't get it.
correct.
So I just have one question. How far short are we on the memorial project as far as, because we talked about leaving out trails, we talked
Correct.
about leaving out that large gazebo, we're talking about leaving out the playground area. So to me, it seems like we do have some earmarked projects and actually have designs and everything for that we don't have enough money to move forward on. And if we applied for this and received it and had to use it by 22 and had to match, we could then budget those matching dollars in for the following year. And to me, those stand out, you know, and even the potential Frisbee golf to run around that trail and the Memorial Park project. So, but what I'm hearing from you is almost, from what I'm hearing is it worth even receiving this money because there's a lot of red tape that goes with it? Is that what you're?
There will be, you know, obviously any money is worth receiving as long as we have the capabilities of getting everything submitted on time. I just haven't dug into this enough yet to have a good feel for it, and that's why I'm nervous about it. It just, you know, usually when a grant comes out with a packet that's, you know, 30 pages of what they expect of you, it's going to become a pretty arduous process, and I have never applied for it. I've been through a lot of federal projects, transportation projects. that I'm familiar with, and so I'm comfortable applying for them and knowing that I'll have a competitive application. I'm more worried about getting the application turned around in 30 days and having it be competitive to be scored well and have a good chance of receiving funds. Kind of was alluding to this with Kevin. I don't like just submitting applications for submitting applications, because a lot of times the boards that review these, they start seeing Brainerd's name pop up every year that we're submitting an app and they're not competitive and we're just submitting an app to possibly get funded, and sometimes they become a little bit, we're tired, of seeing the same name pop up if we're not having competitive apps or we're not putting a lot of effort in on the front end. The more effort we put in on the front end of these types of things, the better the outcome usually is. So,
Kara?
that's with federal projects.
Thank you. What about if we ask the Mississippi group? Is that what they're called? They're great.
Trailhead.
Yeah.
Trailhead.
I mean, I don't know where they're at, but maybe, I mean, obviously they have great plans. We've seen them, and I don't know if they have a month to do it, but that would be helping us in the future, because aren't we going to end up, that's going to be our project in a year or two? Maybe we could start something over there, or they could start something, but this might be something to share with them.
Mm-hmm. I know their process is going to be kicking off here soon. The legislature was in the process of approving the Lccmr funds, and so the design of that area would take place this summer with a construction start date of 22. And so from a design, even layout standpoint, I know the layout's kind of done, but the design really hasn't started yet.
Okay.
So
All right,
costs
maybe
and
not.
things, it's these grant opportunities, they're going to pop up, and, having a project kind of in the, like Memorial Park, this would be a great time for like a Memorial Park one. I'm just not certain that what we have for reporting requirements and in the design right now is going to meet what they're expecting of us in the application. That's what I'm more
So
worried
what
about.
The reason you're recommending is that if we just rush into this, it might not be complete, it might not be looked upon well.
Mhm.
If we take the time to do this right and submit it next year.
Yep,
we may have
exactly.
an opportunity to actually receive something.
That's kind of what I've always taken as when I submit my grants. I don't want to rush into them. I usually really want to take the time and really look at what they're looking for. And so that's what I typically do. We've put off applying for transportation alternatives, which is like a trail program, a couple years, just because we've been successful in so many previous years of getting the grant. And sometimes when we submit a non-competitive grant, they kind of look at us like, what was Brainerd doing? Why are they even submitting this? The project's not developed. It doesn't meet any of our requirements. So it's just, like I said, we can certainly move forward with, what you guys think would be the right decision. But that's kind of my history with these types of grants, especially when there's federal money involved. So
We'll start with Tim.
Pardon me for interrupting everybody. Much like you were talking about the issues with federal money, would it help being a three-legged stool, so to speak? So we have, like, let's, for instance, the splash pad. They're already putting in their 85,000 or whatever it might be. We're putting our 85,000 in. Would it be off-center to do another leg of that stool to make it a federal money coming from, to help the splash pad, even though they've already got their money set aside, how it's going to be budgeted?
I don't know if we'd want to federalize a project like that, bring in federal money, because then all the rest of that money becomes part of the federal project, and we have to report on all that,
No,
so.
that's what I'm asking.
Yep,
Good.
yep. And that's another facet to consider. If we have a larger project and we're only receiving, for example, Memorial Park, $1.3 million, and all of a sudden we bring in some federal funds, a lot of times that'll federalize the whole project, which means that the whole $1.3 million that we're spending in our park, and we're using this little pot of federal money, we have to go through environmental review on the whole thing. And so that's the issue with bringing in federal funds into a project that was all ours to begin with.
Mr. Rushmeyer, you had a question?
Yeah, I wish we knew why we were turned down last year. And I don't recall that we had got a lot of information on why that grant was denied. But I don't know if that's available to you to.
I can look for it.
And see what the reasoning was, or maybe it was just that, maybe it was, we didn't, I think at that point, we didn't really, probably have a good plan on anything, but, I don't know, we were kind of working towards that memorial project, but, yeah, I would hate to see us fall into a bundle of red tape by not being prepared, and so I guess I haven't even thought about it that way, that there could be an issue with that, but.
Anybody
I'm
else?
just looking at it as, boy, it just seems like we do have a good plan
Mm-hmm.
for Memorial Park, and we do have areas that we can't finish. But I get what you're saying, and I'll defer to your experience with that.
I think that if we bypass this year, by the time it rolls around next year, we'll know what we need at Memorial Park and figure out how we're gonna come up with the match money and be able to make a decent application.
I think, if I may, Mr. Chair, I think we
Yeah,
have money
please.
set aside for the next phases of Memorial Park too. And so that is in our capital plan already. And so any money we get, you know, through grants is just gonna help that, you know? We'll be able to use the funds we have set aside for other things in Memorial Park. So, I think if we get the bids back on Monday for Memorial Park and we see how much we can do with the money we have set aside this year, and then we can start kind of formulating our plan about what we can fund. And then we look at grant opportunities to fill in any type of gap that we might have.
And again, it may be low, short-term notice, but I like Carrie's idea with the Mississippi Riverhead deal. What's more federal than Mississippi River?
Yeah.
You know, so
There's gonna be a lot of environmental stuff that goes into that, and so that's probably a good project, because you're already gonna be doing it anyways. You're gonna be doing a lot of environmental review with Lccmr funds, you're gonna be doing environmental, you're gonna be doing, you know, historical preservation, all the stuff that they're asking for here, you're gonna be doing it already, and we'll be ready for it. That didn't take place at Memorial Park.
You see this as a grant that will be available next year also, you think?
This is a
It's
yearly
repeating?
thing, yep,
So.
yep. I've seen this come through a few times, so.
Just a discussion, no, we don't need a motion or anything on this, right?
I don't think so, if that's the direction you want us to go, so.
Anybody else have anything?
It makes sense to me, if being cautious and doing it right is gonna be, and to give it a little more time to see what we would even want it for. To me, it's a no-brainer to wait and do the work.
Yeah, I see this a couple different ways. Obviously, you hear the word grant, you see money, and you think, oh, we're green, you know, foot on the gas pedal, green light, go, we're gonna go for this. But I look at this at a couple, you know, from, the one thing that comes to my mind is if we are gonna get serious about it next year, potentially we will have 2 years of failure leading up to that, which I think is not great. Okay, so if we are going to pursue a grant, which sounds like it is federal grant, it's gonna be a lot of work, it's gonna be a lot, I say we set aside the time to make sure that we're doing it right. And maybe this is something that is better for next year. I will also add to that, you know, Paul, I have tremendous respect for you and you know, your advice on this. And so if you're feeling that way, that goes a long way with me. We rely on city staff, and you guys have done a fantastic job, and that's where I'm at with this too, so, okay.
as an old-time slimy sales guy, you never get a sale unless you ask for it. So if you're not asking for a sale, maybe you don't get the sale next time either. But
Dave?
Are there any other grants that you know of that would be coming up later this year? We are only in February. Are there any other ones that we could potentially go after that are 6 months out?
I could look. Usually they're summer type of program grants, so we would be applying for it in the winter of any said year, so, for construction the next year.
We had 6 cases of COVID that happened in Memorial Park, maybe there's a COVID grant.
There you go. Some of that 1.9 trillion or whatever they're trying to.
All right, very good. At this time, I will open up the public forum at 5:58. Do we have anyone online?
No, we do not.
And at this time, anybody else, nobody in the room who'd like to come forward? I will close the public forum at 5:58. All right, we have I'm going to go with city engineer first, just because you're written that way on the agenda. Oh, sorry.
I was gonna, well, I'd like Katie to go, I had to go grab a thank you card that we received. So
Oh, fantastic. So
Use the gavel again.
we'll throw it over to Katie.
Okay.
Coordinator
I will
report,
try to
please.
be very quick. Thank you. So on my recreation side of things, just an update. Early bird tournament, that's all been released and online. So we have 10 teams registered right now. 2 spots remain. We also created a registration form this year so people can mail in registration for adult softball. Or if for some reason Kim or myself aren't in the office, they can take a registration. And if they don't know how to do it into active, they can still write it in the form for us. We can process it later. So that was something we did already this spring. We did update some rules with adult softball. We're starting to take our adult softball registrations. And then this summer, we're looking at potentially coordinating with there's a St. Matthias co-ed softball tournament that was ran last year and was very successful, but we're looking at expanding it and maybe running it over the 4th of July as an adult co-ed softball tournament. And then there's talk of somehow coordinating the softball tournament with the community action events that are happening in the community. So kind of a big community event, hopefully we can add to it. So that's just an update there. Community ed and YMCA contracts, just that all the contracts were signed. We're just working on getting the field reservations and any of the loose ends that we need to know on that side of things. Warming houses. It was unceasingly cold, now it's unceasingly warm. So we're having the opposite effect right now where we're having to close. We closed today because of this impending snow and rain and just horrible ice condition. But it's something to look at maybe next year when we have more good data, if we want to adjust our hours for the warming house or any other adjustments we want to make. Maybe take a look at the data of, is our weather policy accurate? Do we want to change that so that we're not wasting city money by paying a warming house attendant to be there when there's no skaters? The next item was the warming house employees, just that I'll be doing their employee evaluations before the next park board meeting. And then special events. We did receive the $500 from the Rotary Club. I'll be receiving a 50% match from the Sullivan Candy Supply. So I'll be getting a total of $750 of candy. We plan on formatting the event in 3 waves. Each wave, 100 people in 4 different pods. So 25 people per pod. And we'll figure out a way to do free registrations through our ActiveNet, hopefully, somehow. And then we can still abide by the governor guidelines to run the event. So happy to still be able to do that. I think the Rotary is still interested in volunteering, so we should have our volunteers. The next item is called ASCAP, American Society of Composers, Authors, and Publishers. This was on January 5th, we received a letter requesting we pay basically to use music at our special events, and we only paid this in relevancy to playing music at our tournaments for the kids that were doing the announcing. We would play music, so it's a $367 licensure, but we decided to not pay it this year since we're not running those tournaments or staffing the scorekeepers. Next is just I included Kara Reese's completed contract of her damage to Gregory Park. She carved her name in one of the benches, and the attachments that I provided are just her apology along with a report on graffiti, I believe, or something similar. The next item is that the Wellness Committee, I just included some warm fuzzies for you that the city of Brainerd is doing awesome things, and that I'm also a representative on our wellness committee through the city. So I'm looking at when I do apply for the Growing Energized grant that I also tie that into our water bottle filling campaign through the city, also including the city staff potentially with the Rethink Your Drink campaign. And then that summer employment, we've been working with Chris on getting all of our summer employment opportunities on our NeoGov website and out there to the public. So that's my update.
Thank you, Katie. City Engineer, Paul Sandy.
All right, first off, we got a thank you card from Shane Riffle at the Y. He just wanted to he says, thank you so much for allowing the Y to partner with you in Youth Rec Sports. We are both honored and grateful and will do everything we can to give more kids the opportunity to participate and belong. Great things are coming in the near future. Sincerely, Shane. So that's something that we got here, and that's to the city council, you guys, and Jennifer here. So just something nice we got from Shane there. So we got an update on the campground host. I think Kim received a call, or you called her, and she is going to be back this summer. As we talked about before, we will be helping her clean up her site a little bit here this year and looking at opportunities for changes in the future there. So we do have a campground host for one more summer here, and you'll be hearing more about that here in the coming months. As part of my report, Memorial Park bids open on Monday. So with that, I think you were going to have something here. They want us, WSB would like to set up a special meeting with the park board to look at those.
Yes.
On the 9th. And
Yes.
So I don't know if you want just to do that now or.
When you're done with your report.
Okay. Splash Pad, we actually had a meeting yesterday with High Tech and Anderson Brothers to talk over some in-kind work with WSB. They're very willing to do that on behalf of the Splash Pad folks. We're going to do a little more, feelers out there. We need to get some block procured, engraving and things like that. And so we're continuing to work with that and working with Emily to get that done. So it sounds like we have the two big pieces of the in-kind stuff taken care of. We'll be looking at landscapers and other things too. The tree inspector thing that we had on the last park board meeting, that went and got, the first reading was done at the tree inspector ordinance here at the March 1st, or at the February 16th council meeting. So the ordinance should be through council after the March 1st meeting. We talked about the design standards tonight, and it sounds like we're moving forward on that with council approval. So we will get going on that, and then we'll be talking to you folks about setting up a work session after those are kind of completed. Community garden, so this came up between meetings here. Chris, our HR director, she's been a part of this community garden for a long time, since its inception. With her pending retirement here soon in the next couple of years, she was looking to kind of get these duties off of her plate. Right now, as it stands, city staff are kind of a pass-through for the money that comes in for plot rentals and reserving plots. And our maintenance guys do a couple things for them. They take out the garbage and they help out with any small tasks that they might need out there. We had a meeting with Magnus Nelson. He is with, I think, the schools, and he's actually going to be taking that over, and which is excellent. We'll just be continuing doing what we already do for them from the city side, being the pass-through, reserving plots. They intend on making it more of like a learning experience for kids out at the community garden, and so that'll continue being kind of a part of our city function, along with partnering with the FFA alumni to keep that going. Park dedication funds, just a quick update on where we're at on those. You just saw those in the report there. One thing that we're gonna take a little bit look at here this summer, some of the softball. This was something that I think a lot of you saw in your reviews of parks up at Memorial Park. A lot of the softball fences have big bows in them. I did reach out to a fencing contractor. He's going to come and look at it for free and see what he would recommend, either trying to fix them or He said most likely they're gonna have to get refaced or the fencing get replaced. And so that's opportunity. I think we could use some of those park dedication funds that are out there for Memorial Park. It's something that's been out there for a while that we should really get fixed. 'Cause I think some of the softball players have had some complaints about those in the past. So
Should have been right 5 years ago, we put new fencing into it.
Yep, and so that's something that we're gonna be looking at this spring, and then we'll see a recommendation from them. And I would recommend that maybe we look at park dedication for that, seeing as those funds were specifically set aside for fences and maintenance of the fields. And then, like I did last time, just a quick update of what we did this last month from the maintenance perspective, and that's all I had, besides a bunch of attachments that Katie had on there, so.
Thank you, Paul. Troy, did you have a question regarding splash pad? Looked like you wanted to say something, but maybe not. No?
No, I probably just have to work back.
Okay, gotcha. So real quickly, before we adjourn, Chris was hoping to make a presentation on the bids received either on the 9th, 11th, or 12th of March. So I'm looking to see if any of us can, if any of those dates work for us as a group. That is 2 weeks from now. Not next week, but the week after on Tuesday, Thursday, or Friday.
I will not be available from the 3rd to the 14th.
3rd through the 14th, so you're out, okay?
We're actually going on vacation that week?
Okay, the 8th through the 12th,
Yes.
okay?
We need 3.
Excuse me?
We need 3, we need a quorum.
We do need,
I haven't
If we
put,
want to make a recommendation to award, we're gonna need a quorum.
would we be making a recommendation to award at that time? Probably,
I
right?
would think that we would want it just because that's the only reason to have a special
Yep.
meeting.
So having that in mind right off the bat, should we be looking at the week of the 15th through the 19th,
Yep.
which is 3 weeks from now?
I'm only good that early part of that week, so.
I'm good anytime.
How about Tuesday, the 16th? I have a planning meeting, planning and zoning on the 17th.
Good.
Tuesday, the 16th? I'll let Chris know.
What time? Or,
Do you want to do 4 o'clock again?
That works, yeah.
Are we gonna, can we do it here, or are we doing it at the fire station? I don't know who. I don't know
Probably
how to
here,
make
we
the
have
fire
the
station.
capabilities of
We can do
streaming it.
here. Okay.
All
And,
right.
Mr. Chair, do you want me to let Chris know, or do you want to let him
I'll
know?
text him here when I leave.
Sounds
And
good.
assuming that date doesn't work, then we'll have to send a group email, but, or if that date doesn't work, we'll send a group email, but hopefully it will, so. Wow, I'm jealous now, I'm not going on vacation with all you guys.
I haven't booked yet, but I'm pretty sure I'll be gone.
Wow, that was a long meeting. Thanks for all of the preparation, city staff. There's a ton of time and effort that went into this meeting. Thanks, guys, for all that work. Fantastic work. Make it easy for us.
I'll make a
And-
motion, oh, good.
Yep, let's do it.
Make a motion to adjourn the meeting, please?
Second.
All right, motion and second. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
We should adjourn the meeting to that next meeting. Or
too
no, we
far
don't
out.
need
Well-
to. Too far out, yeah, we're good.
We
Never mind.
can notice